Weather.
Partly cloudy skies, hot and humid today. 91 will feel like the upper 90s. Southeast breeze 5 to 15. There will be a few storms in the listening area this afternoon through about 7 o'clock. Becoming clear, light winds and 69 tonight. Sunshine and 93 on Wednesday. Mostly sunny, breezy, and hot Thursday, high 95, but it will feel like 100 or higher. That's your forecast from Storm Team 12. I'm meteorologist Jake Dunn.
Kansas Fan Headquarters, 97.5 and 1240 KFH Wichita, KNSS HD2 Clearwater, and Odyssey Sports Station.
Hey Wichita, it's Jake Albrock. Stay right there for the latest breaking in sports talk. It's Sports Daily, coming up next exclusively on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
I'm Patrick Claybon with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. The NFL Foundation, Dallas Cowboys, and Houston Texans are contributing a combined $1.5 million towards immediate assistance and long-term recovery resources for Texas communities impacted by last weekend's flash flooding. Patrick Mahomes is ready to return to work after the Chiefs failed on their quest to become the first three-peat Super Bowl champion. He told FanDuel TV, quote, "Whenever you lose, you kind of have this taste in your mouth that you want to get out there and get revenge. Let's just play football and handle it all out there. I don't really want to talk about it. I just want to go out and show who we are." The Chiefs report to training camp July 21st. Meanwhile, the Chargers and Lions days away from reporting to camp ahead of their Hall of Fame game matchup on July 31st. Chargers rookies report on July 12th, the veterans the 16th. Lions rookies report on the 16th, and the veterans on July 19th. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
While retinitis pigmentosa takes Mark's vision, his family gives him hope, whether at the family business or at home with his wife and sons. He knows he's not fighting alone. For 50 years, the Foundation Fighting Blindness has funded research into treatments and cures for blinding retinal diseases, providing hope to people with vision loss. And for Mark, winning the fight means being there for his family. The Foundation Fighting Blindness. Together, we're winning. Help us end blinding diseases at fightingblindness.org.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us too in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albrock and Tommy Kester.
Hey, happy Tuesday to you, everybody. Welcome into Sports Daily. Glad to be here with you. It is Jacob Albrock and Tommy Castor. We are rocking and rolling here. We are ready to take you through the sports day. Glad to be here with you. We've got some Royals to talk about today as they get it done in the opener. Exactly what we wanted them to do in the opener. We'll talk about that. We've got our Chiefs Insider Felix Johnson stopping by. We'll talk to Felix about not only the latest with the Chiefs, but around the world of football. We'll get to all that, and then we get some big expected news with the process to potentially bring the Chiefs and or Royals over to the state of Kansas yesterday. We can get into the latest there as well. It's all what's on tap, brought to you by the Wichita Brewing Company, with locations east, west, and historic Delano, featuring a rooftop deck. Wichita Brewing Company. It's pizza and beer made here. Tommy, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Happy Tuesday. Looking forward to jumping into it today. Always a good start to the day when the Royals are able to get a big win to kick off their homestand. That hasn't happened a whole lot inside Kauffman Stadium. And so the fact that they were able to get that win against the Pirates last night, we'll get into that and a whole lot more. So looking forward to jumping into it today.
Yeah, they matched their win total for the entire month of June at home.
Yeah, they did.
Which is great. We'll give away some HTO as well throughout the program here, so stay tuned for your opportunity there. Speaking of giveaways, we had our Crestview Country Club giveaway last month, and 4 times we gave away golf to one lucky winner. Is one of the more popular contests we've ever done. Congratulations to George and Blaine for winning a couple of those. There is one person out there who has not responded, who is a winner. If you get a call from a guy named Zeb, answer the phone. It's
not it's not a scam. I promise you that. Pick up the phone, talk to him.
It's golf from Sports Daily. But congratulations to everybody winning there. We'll get with the fine folks over at Crestview, which are great supporters of this program. And we'll come up with something else fun like that one. Hopefully you guys enjoy the golf. It's a great time to get out there and golf. The North looks great, even after the Wichita Open came through with all the weather and traffic. The South, I think they're about done cleaning that up, Tommy. They had to get to that one after the North, but all that damage out there that was done, they've already got it rocking and rolling. It's looking great out there at Crestview Country Club. So get out and check it out. Give them a call and get ready. We've got the big swim team championships for our family. That goes basically the first 6 weeks of the summer are dominated. It's what we love it. It's fun, but man, it's a commitment. With Crestview Pool is great. Just get out there, check them out. It's what do you think of this stadium stuff, Tom? We'll get into this in the next segment. This is we expected the news yesterday that we thought this was coming, but yesterday was the day that it legislatively had to be done.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was interesting that this is a request that came from the Chiefs, as we talked about when Mark Donovan sent that letter to the lawmakers in the state of Kansas, and the language in that letter from Mark Donovan, I thought was telling. About the Chiefs' interest overall, still in moving over and crossing state lines. For me, I feel like Mark Donovan didn't have to include some of the language that he did about, how this is a special opportunity. And I don't have all the language verbatim, but basically really making it sound like the Chiefs have this major desire to create something historic in the state of Kansas. He could have asked for an extension and not included all that language in the letter, but he did. And I don't think he's lying about it. I mean, I think when I first read that, I had two thoughts. Thought number one was, well, there's no way that the state of Kansas is going to decline this. They're going to extend this deadline out, even though they had threatened not to initially, but with this letter, they absolutely will. And number two, I was kind of cooling off on the idea of the Chiefs having the desire to cross state lines. After reading that letter, I thought, well, you know what? Maybe they still actually do. My only fear is that the Chiefs are going to continue to use Kansas as leverage to get a better deal from the state of Missouri. And now with more time, and with that countdown clock reset for another year, they've got plenty of time to continue to try to negotiate with the state of Missouri. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. But as you mentioned, this was expected, the state of Kansas to go ahead and extend that deadline out.
There's a couple little interesting parts yesterday from things that Mark Donovan said and at an event he was at. We'll get into all of that. We'll spend some time with it next segment and just continue to follow along the processes here, but that's also out there. Something else we might get into today, I saw, and you probably saw this because it's slow time on the sports calendar. Urban Meyer's response to potentially wanting to somebody wanting him to be the GM of his college athletics program. Did you see that?
I did not know.
So somebody said, basically, it sounds like somebody asked him, "Hey, you want to be our general manager?" And he's like, "Yeah, okay. What does that job entail?" And they're like, "Well, you'd be meeting with all the agents of the 17 and 18-year-olds." And he said, "I would rather step on a rusty nail and pull it out myself." If that's what the job is, God bless you. Like I thought that was really funny. The old school guy. But number two, like, why would you ever want Urban Meyer to do that job? If you want him to coach, that's one thing. For all the things, all the baggage, all the stuff that comes with Urban Meyer, dude just wins football games. I definitely wouldn't want him to be my GM. That's not the guy. I don't think that I would go. Could you imagine some agent who's maybe a little too big for his or her britches trying to represent, a high school kid walking into a room with Urban Meyer and like starting to throw around all these kinds of demands? How do you think that would go?
It would make for really great television. There would need to be a camera crew in that office to make that work.
Yeah, that's not the ideal candidate for that. I wouldn't think. I wouldn't be knocking down the door of all the like grizzled old school veteran coaches to be general managers of these college football programs or college athletics programs. Like, hey, Jim Boeheim, you want to be our GM? Like, who else could we think of like that would just be like an absolute disaster? Somebody going in like throwing demands around for that wouldn't be good. I thought that quote was awesome.
Yeah, speaking of camera crews, I don't know if you saw this, but the new season of Quarterback premiered on Netflix yesterday, and Kirk Cousins, for the first time ever, publicly at least, talked about how he felt about the Falcons drafting Michael Penix Jr. And then he said that he felt misled and that he probably would have re-signed with the Vikings that offseason as opposed to signing with the Falcons had he known that the Falcons were going to take Michael Penix Jr.
Boy, I'll need to stew on that. I mean, of course he didn't like it, but that with the re-signing of the Vikings, how crazy things go, like the sequence of events. The Falcons draft Penix, which leads to the Vikings ending up with a top 10 quarterback and Sam Darnold being the starting quarterback on a big deal with the Seattle Seahawks. Like that's what happens when the Falcons draft Penix. That's pretty interesting. What does his future even look like now, by the way? Like that's going to be an interesting season, I suppose, with him. I didn't finish the first season, unfortunately, because we like lost Netflix or something, and then I haven't tuned back into that. Is this the second time they've done the actual quarterback one?
Yeah, second season. I think it's interesting too. I mean, Atlanta seems like they would rather have Kirk Cousins on their roster and pay him all that money to be the backup than to send him somewhere else. I don't know. It's interesting.
They might be pretty good. I don't know that I blame them on that. Maybe we'll talk to them about that with Felix, our football insider. All right, we'll come back. More Sports Daily, the latest on the stadium stuff next.
Lightning, hail, tornadoes, flooding. It's the worst of severe weather, and it's coming. Spring brings warmer temperatures, but also dangerous weather conditions. Stay up to date day or night with the Storm Team 12 weather app. You'll get accurate forecasts, so you can plan ahead and stay safe, no matter the weather. Download the Storm Team 12 weather app, brought to you by Stutzman's Greenhouse.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
They're not just the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood, written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message, so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
Jim Rome here, lighting up your afternoons on The Jim Rome Show. Catch me starting at 2 on Wichita's #1 sports radio, Kansas Fan Headquarters, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
What is GMFB Overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of fantasy. It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Odyssey is one of the most influential audio and entertainment brands in the nation. You already know Odyssey's iconic local radio brands in Wichita. But did you know Odyssey has the country's best collection of music, news, and sports brands? Odyssey is also a premium podcast creator, major event producer, and digital innovator. Odyssey brings people together across the country and right here in Wichita. Odyssey also delivers meaningful radio and digital audio results. Find out our story and impact at odysseyinc.com/Wichita.
Make yourself known now.
310-1 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lives from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
Is on KFH.
And we're back. Hey, the summer concert series is back at the Capitol Federal Amphitheater in Andover. The series returns Friday, July 11th with Jet City Live on stage. Gates open at 6:30. Show starts at 8. Enjoy free live music, food trucks, and Friday night fun all summer long. Full schedule at kfhradio.com. We are back with Sports Daily. Tommy, we get the news yesterday that we thought was coming. The extension, is granted for the basically for the Star Bond in the state of Kansas. So that's what we expected to happen July 7th when the letter was written last week was the date. Sort of the state said it was going to take this to the table, but it sure sounded like they had this in mind when they did this. So no surprises with the news yesterday. It was just, it had to be done, and it was done. I thought there were a couple of interesting things coming out of it. But again, your initial take is, and I think it's the same as mine, this at least puts things back up to 50-50. Don't you think? Like 50-50 seems where this would be.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would agree with that. I hope that that's also where the teams view it as well. I mean, at the end of the day, like my biggest fear, and I said this in the last segment, my biggest fear is that Kansas gets played. That Kansas gets to be the leverage player where they're providing these great terms and they're extending the deadline and they're not holding the team's feet to the fire. And then ultimately both the Chiefs and the Royals end up negotiating a deal that they feel comfortable with the state of Missouri, knowing that Kansas is the fallback plan. And I don't want Kansas to be the fallback plan. Kansas doesn't want to be the fallback plan. That's been my only fear in the entire thing. But I think 50-50 is probably fair.
I don't think, that I've had that same fear. I don't think it's that anymore. I think they have their 2 offers and they are working through their due diligence to take the best offer. I thought when initially it just kept dragging until we kind of saw Missouri get its offer on the table, and then it didn't immediately say, all right, well, Kansas's is better. We're going to take Kansas's bye. I was like, that's weird. Now it's starting to make some sense. And here's the interesting part of yesterday. Yesterday was expected, but what came out of yesterday, and I believe it was Dan Hawkins that was saying this, somebody on the LCC, which is the group that has put this together, basically was saying it's not fair to the team that they've had proposals they haven't gotten responses back to. I told you when this happened, it was strange to me that Mark Donovan specifically called out the administration, and so did Ty Masterson's office, about not basically returning a phone call or an email. It sounds like basically not giving responses to proposals. Who knows, for whatever reason, that and it could still be posturing and pandering. I don't know. But the fact that they were willing to go there made this interesting to me. It was the first time we'd seen anything like a chink in the armor of this well-oiled Kansas policy machine on this particular issue. Whether you go all the way back to betting and, to now to the stadium stuff, like it has been just an excellent legislative domino effect where the state has just put everything to the side partisan wise, and they've gotten this stuff done. That was the first thing I can remember where we've seen something like that. I don't know the reasons for that. And I don't even know that, because we had our staff call and make sure, we're like, you're calling out the administration, you're talking about the governor's office, right? And they're like, yeah, but so I don't even know how aggressive they're trying to be with a blame game. I don't think it's that necessarily, although it could be. I think it's more about we may have dropped the ball collectively on something here. Let's figure out exactly what that is. And let's see if we can't correct that, whatever it was. So now they have this extension. The other interesting thing out of those comments was Hawkins basically said, look, we want this done by December 31st. Okay. We don't, it's, I procedurally, it's extended through June 30th of 2026, but they're saying they want it done by December 31st. Now, I don't know how hard
that's great. That's great until Mark Donovan sends another letter, right?
Well, I think technically they have the room, but the Chiefs are going to run out of time if they're building a new stadium. It's they're coming up on that deadline pretty quick. They're going to run it. They got to get the ball rolling on some of this stuff. So Sam McDowell, and I'm taking this from him because I've not listened to the full Mark Donovan interview. Sam McDowell says on X that Donovan told him if the Chiefs elect a renovated stadium, a Jackson County vote would be more likely to occur next April than this November. Okay. Think about your timelines there on that then. And I'm trying to understand, if the Chiefs were to choose Missouri, the vote wouldn't happen until next April. That's where the state of Kansas might have some leverage back the other way. So you've heard the state of Kansas say, okay, we want it December 31st. Donovan saying, if it's going to be a renovation, we got to have that vote, but it won't be ready by November. We think April. Well, if I'm the state of Kansas, I'm saying to hell with your April. Your deadline's December 31st. You may not get your vote but good luck, right? If you want to talk about a leverage play.
Yeah, but technically the deadline is June 30th of 2026. And so while Dan Hawkins may say he wants it done by the end of the year, that doesn't, from what I know, what I've read, technically the Chiefs have until the end of June of next year to be able to make a deal, Chiefs and the Royals at that point. This is my biggest concern in all of it. And what I thought about as soon as the extension was granted, what in the world do both of these franchises still need to find out that they don't already know, for more time, right?
You got to find your land. You got to get an architect. You have to design and basically come up with the plan for this facility. It would be
what's been going on for the last
That's what they've been doing.
I understand that, but I don't feel like there's, and I know I'm coming at this from a very basic perspective and basic point of view, and I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I have a hard time thinking that there's a whole lot more that has yet to be discovered about what a deal in Kansas would entail.
I think that they're probably just on like the very small scale of building and being a part of the process to build two very small buildings to house our businesses, and how long and painful that process is for a 2,200 square foot building. I cannot fathom the amount of due diligence that goes into to a project like this. It has to be, you have to find the space, you have to have people in to inspect and make sure what you want to build can go in the space. You have to find builders, you have to take bids, you have to have plans, you have like all of that stuff has to be done. It's the interesting part to me, and I don't know this part. Like, how far across do they have to have this in order to say yay or nay to the state of Kansas, for instance? Like, do you need a full set of plans and here's what we would do? Or do you need, in theory, here's what we want to do. Now we just have to work through those details. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know how far along they have to be. But there, from the state of Kansas's perspective too, and where they have to be really careful is if the Chiefs ultimately do want to come and the Royals don't ever get a great offer and they both want to come, what does that look like? Now on the state of Kansas's side, you have to determine, do we want both of these in the same area? Do we want potentially the Royals to do this other whatever Sprint site and the Chiefs? Like, there's a lot of back and forth. At the end of the day, though, like, we just need to know from the Chiefs, do you want a dome or do you not want a dome? Do you want 70% of a more expensive stadium or do you want 50% of a less expensive renovation? At least go answer those questions by December 31st. And I think we'll have a process. At the end of the day, they're going to run out of time. Their lease is up. They have to build or renovate a stadium. When is that lease up? 2029, I think.
Yeah, 2029 or 2030, one of the two.
Like, you're about to run out of time on this. You bet. Like, there is a ticking time internally for the Chiefs. And I just think it's interesting that we saw in the letter, we're waiting on a callback. The state of Kansas say, well, that shouldn't be happening. We got to look into that. And then yesterday at the meeting saying it's very unfair to the organization to have left them hanging basically on any proposals they sent over. So I 50-50. I don't think it's any worse than 50-50.
Yeah, one other thing to keep in mind too that I didn't know about until I started doing research on this is that currently with like Kauffman Stadium, for example, when there are maintenance issues, routine maintenance, utility costs, things like that, that's paid for by Jackson County. The Royals don't incur that cost. So if they move across the state lines to Kansas, I'm not sure that's part of the deal. I think that would end up being on the backs of the Royals, right? And so while it might end up ultimately being cheaper to build the stadium with the subsidies and all of that from the Star Bonds in the state of Kansas, once you get in there and you start having to keep this stadium up and pay for the electric bill and the water bill and the upkeep of everything moving forward, that's going to probably be on the shoulders of the team. That's probably not something the state of Kansas is going to pay for.
It's probably negotiated and split. I would bet you that the city has some responsibilities as it pertains to the wind surge, city of Wichita. I can't say that for fact, but I'm pretty sure they do. So I think you negotiate all that stuff in, but the bottom line is for the Chiefs,
100% like right now. I mean, like, I think that's the difference, right? Like,
Jackson, yeah. That
entire
that stuff probably isn't predetermined. That probably has to be ironed out, I would imagine.
Yeah.
The price tag for the Chiefs is going to be cheaper to stay in Missouri, even at the 50%. I almost think there's no doubt about that. Like, a renovation versus a new build on a domed big facility with all of that stuff. Even if the Chiefs only, like, the total dollars invested on the Chiefs side will be smaller if they stay in Missouri versus come to Kansas.
What is your overall fear, I guess would be the word, like on a scale of 1 to 10, that the state of Kansas is getting played, or that the state of Kansas will get played ultimately at the end of the day?
It's not a fear because I don't really care if the state is to some degree, because I just need to know what the appetite for the state is. Honestly, like, if the end game is a Super Bowl or two, even better, in the state of Kansas over the next 30 years, zero, because you can play us all day long. if as long as that possibility exists, like if I were in the States perspective, because I would imagine that a Super Bowl or two, which I can't remember, didn't they say that possibly two a long time ago when they talked about a Super Bowl? I think there was like a light guarantee of one and maybe even two, whatever. But you like that would I have to imagine help push this over the finish line at the end of getting a star bond paid for the way it's supposed to get paid for. It just becomes too like the state's greatest. There'll never be another opportunity for the state to have an entertainment or a culture export like the NFL. So for the Chiefs, it would be about a zero. I don't really care if it's a leverage play because what is the harm? It doesn't hurt us if they choose to stay in Missouri. It's it's gotten buzz. It's whatever. The Royals are a little bit different. I doubt the Royals are playing anybody. The Royals don't like they've got to still find their best option. I still think there's a pretty good chance the Royals come over. So I don't think they're playing us. I think they're trying to piggyback the Chiefs as best they can. But at the end of the day, I do think everybody outside of probably the Royals organization has this as two totally separate things. So I don't, it's not very high because there's not much harm in if they are playing us. It doesn't do any harm for lawmakers to keep the same deal on the table. The deal's not changing. Now, if they all of a sudden said, all right, fine, we'll chip in 80%, that would be different, but that's not going to happen, at least from as far as I know. Like the deal is the deal.
Other than a massive waste of time, other than a waste of, the resources and
like you and I's time.
No. The time of our lawmakers, the time of
they'll be all right.
They'll be all right. They'll be fine. But don't you think that there's an argument to be made? Like, let's just say worst case scenario, we get to the end of this and it turns out that Kansas was a leverage play all along for Royals and Chiefs to stay in Missouri, and Missouri is able to lock them down or whatever, where you look back on it and you say, man, there were probably other priorities that our lawmakers in the state of Kansas should have been focused on during this time rather than getting played by these two professional franchises.
I mean, there will be sour grapes. There may be feelings hurt. I don't think they have wasted a lot of time on this. I would imagine they have had other people, the lawmakers themselves. There may be some bills to foot that we had to do to like do the work on our end with some, with some people, like some architects. But at the end of the day, like you got those people who are probably in the state of Kansas some work. I think the risk is pretty low. It doesn't bother me too much because it is such a long shot idea in the first place. You got to like imagine, Tommy, before Kansas got gambling. So let's go back to 2021, 2018, whatever, whenever the Mahomes era started. And let's say I told you, hey, I think in 10 years, you could see the Chiefs played in the state of Kansas. I mean, we'd have been like, what the hell are you talking about? There's no chance of that. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. And then again, this domino effect of sports wagering and the star bond and the cheat, like the real interest and the chaos of Missouri, like this perfect planetary alignment to even have this remotely on the table that you could take the most polarizing at the moment, both for mostly good reasons, franchise in the NFL and move them into your state. Any risk involved with they wasted a couple of days worth of work of our lawmakers writing out these but like that seems pretty low to me. Other than hurt feelings.
I just don't want the rug to be pulled out from underneath the state of Kansas because I feel like, as you said, there's this perfect planetary alignment that goes back years ago. And it all seems to fit. It all seems to work. It all seems to be like just kind of, I mean, I don't want to say a no-brainer, but it seems like it makes a lot of sense with everything that has aligned itself to get to this point. And I don't want it to get, I don't even know how far down the line it is right now. 60%, 70%. I don't want it to get to 80 or 90 or 95 or 98% of the way down where it's like, yeah, this makes the most sense. And then here comes Missouri with an offer that's not as good as the state of Kansas. And the Chiefs
Missouri made its best offer.
Boom, you know what? We're going to go, we're loyal to Missouri. We're going to go ahead and stay. This is what we wanted all along. Clark Hunt, by the way, is on the record as of just a few months ago in February saying that he preferred a dome at Arrowhead. Like, that's the owner of the NFL franchise. I don't want this perfect planetary alignment situation to get almost all the way to the finish line. And then all of a sudden the franchises are like, yeah, we're going to stay in Missouri. Like that's going to be hurt feelings, number one, but it's also going to be like, man, this was a better opportunity and a better offer. What are you guys doing? Like, that's my biggest fear.
Well, a dome at Arrowhead's not on the table. That at that point would be too expensive. I think they'd come to Kansas because the dollars.
I'm just saying, generally speaking.
I think generally speaking, there was leverage utilized in getting Missouri to its offer. Generally speaking, that was where leverage was used, as it should be by the Chiefs, by the way. If you put yourself in their shoes, they have their Missouri offer now. Missouri finally got that put on the table. Kansas has obviously had its offer for a long time. So now they're both there. These offers don't get any better. I don't know the inner workings of Missouri well enough to say that for a fact, but seeing how dysfunctional they've been on everything, I think we have the two offers. The Chiefs have to go in now and say, probably financially at this point, which is the best decision for us? Ponying up more dollars up front for the Star Bond, even though it's the state paying for more of it, but we get the dome, we get the Super Bowl, we get all that stuff, new facilities, or staying with probably Clark Hunt's heart and just staying in Arrowhead, but renovating it. And now that's their decision to make. But the state of Kansas is saying, we'll return your call. I don't know what that's all about, but let's get back to the table. 50-50. I think we're back to 50-50, which is interesting. We'll come back. We can hit more on that. The Royals next.
Lightning, hail, tornadoes, flooding. It's the worst of severe weather, and it's coming. Spring brings warmer temperatures, but also dangerous weather conditions. Stay up to date day or night with the Storm Team 12 weather app. You'll get accurate forecasts so you can plan ahead and stay safe, no matter the weather. Download the Storm Team 12 weather app, brought to you by Stutzman's Greenhouse.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
They're not just the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood, written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message, so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
Jim Rome here, lighting up your afternoons on The Jim Rome Show. Catch me starting at 2 on Wichita's #1 sports radio, Kansas fan headquarters, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of fantasy. It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Odyssey is one of the most influential audio and entertainment brands in the nation. You already know Odyssey's iconic local radio brands in Wichita. But did you know Odyssey has the country's best collection of music, news, and sports brands? Odyssey is also a premium podcast creator, major event producer, and digital innovator. Odyssey brings people together across the country and right here in Wichita. Odyssey also delivers meaningful radio and digital audio results. Find out our story and impact at odysseyinc.com/Wichita.
Make yourself known now. 8310 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
FH.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. It is Sports Daily here on KFH. Tommy, been betting any baseball?
Not really. A little bit. Like I'll nibble a little bit here and there. I'm always a big fan of the Nerfy or the Yerfy. Those are my.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I go to.
I tried one of those yesterday. I put the Royals in it. That did not work out well for me because Vinny Pasquantino hit that home run in the first. It wouldn't have mattered because I put it with the Rangers really let me down yesterday. There was a booster on DraftKings, I think, Tommy, and I had a five-legger, and the Rangers couldn't finish it off last night. It was the last leg I needed, and there were like 3 times as they were going back and forth. I was like, it's a DeGrom start. They'll be fine, but the Angels had DeGrom's number. First time really anybody has this year, and they cost me. It cost me my 17-1, like $5 bet. Dadgummit.
That's what betting baseball will do to you. It's I try to stay away from baseball parlays. If I'm going to bet baseball, I'm going to do some straight up baseball bets, but I don't love baseball parlays.
I like kind of messing around and betting like home run parlay because they're so outrageous and off the wall. And if you ever hit one, it would be like an unbelievable odds. I like to do like 3-leg home run parlays. But most of the time, honestly, like if I take and I just take money lines and I kind of just bet on pitching matchups, I have done pretty well with those. I hit a 4-legger the other day. I hit those better than anything else in baseball, just taking winners, basically. Don't mess with the run lines, taking winners and putting them together, and I just base it on pitching. It's not as crazy as it sounds, and you get pretty good odds. But last night, you get a random game. It didn't work out because the Angels got to Jacob deGrom. First time he's been gotten to this year. Such is betting. Well, I can tell you this, though. I can't wait for football betting. It can't get here soon enough. It's coming. Big 12 media days. are this week. We got first teams yesterday. Sam Leavitt, no surprise, offensive player of the year preseason. Jacob Rodriguez, Texas Tech, no surprise, defensive player of the year. KU gets an offensive lineman, Bryce Foster in. K-State gets Will Swanson and Austin Romaine in. No surprises, I didn't think, really, with that preseason All Big 12 team, but we'll hear from those teams this week, so we'll probably have some stuff coming out of Irving, I believe is where they are this year, over the next couple of days. So we'll have that for you as well. Let's talk Royals, Tommy. Great start. Exactly what you wanted to see, right? Them just kind of beating up on the Pirates a little bit, scoring some runs, which they did. They matched the win total in June at home. It feels like they probably matched the run total in June at home with 9. That's a great start and exactly what you have to do when you play the Pirates. And they'll probably have better pitching than that the rest of the series, but who cares, right? Salvador Perez continues to power up. Benny Pasquantino is, he's an above average first baseman for sure right now. We waited on those two guys forever. If the planets can align, this would be the time to get it started. They're 4 games under 500 right now. They have 5 games left to play this week. Think they can get it to 500?
No, I don't. I guess they'd have to go 5-0. I mean, they have the opportunity to get over 500 before the All-Star break if they win out the remainder of their games on this homestand. I think that's unlikely, but I do think that they can get to a game under 500. They can hover around 500 by the time the All-Star break comes around, and it does complicate things as we inch closer and closer to the trade deadline. I thought last night's game, you saw power mainly from the guys that you wanted to see power from. Bobby Witt Jr. had a home run. Benny Pasquantino had a home run. Salvador Perez had a home run. Nick Lofton added one as well. But 4 home runs in a game for the Royals doesn't happen all that often. And the fact that they were able to do that, I think, is important. I think really the only negative in that lineup is Jack Caglione continues to really struggle. He was 0 for 3 last night in the game. Wasn't able to really make anything happen. His average is still really, really, really low. He's working his way through adjusting to the big leagues. But other than that, I mean, from a power perspective, the guys that we needed to see have power in that game, they were able to do that. And I do think also when you mentioned Perez starting to power up, that's back-to-back games with a home run for him. And so obviously that's important, and you want to see your captain and your leader of the team continue to have that kind of power.
He could transform the season. That when he gets on one, and we've seen this from him, he can turn a seat. Like he individually can get hot like that. I wouldn't expect that though at his age and what we've seen this year. But if he can get close to it, it would certainly help. Look, yeah, they'd have to go 5-0 to get above 500. If they go 4-1, they could be a game under 500. I think that's a fun and fine goal for the week. But in order to do that, you feel like they got to sweep the Pirates. So they've got work to do in that series. JJ Piccolo did talk before the game yesterday. I don't know if you caught any of what he was saying, but he's basically saying the same thing we are. Like, it's complicated. It's not simple. It's not, he was saying like everyone wants us to go on this streak where we, win 16 out of 18 again. He was like, that's not realistically how you approach this. You just have to keep everything right in front of you and take it. I'm trying to avoid a cliche because he didn't necessarily use cliches, but basically you have to take your time with it. You have to take it one game at a time is the cliche that I keep wanting to say. So I'll just say it, but it's correct, right? Like the Royals have worked their way back, Tommy, right now to being 4 games under 500. Okay. That's based on where they were at the worst of this, which I believe was 7 games under 500 after the first game of the Seattle series, which was last Monday. They've made up 3 games on that over a 7-day stretch, 8-game stretch. That's not bad. That's pretty good. When you're talking about like breaking it down and taking it piece by piece, to chisel that to 4 games from 8 over an 8-game stretch is pretty good. And if you can continue to do that, right, The problem with the deadline is that's a good approach and a good thought when you have 3 months, which they do for the rest of the season, but they don't have that before the trade deadline. Like that approach for the rest of the season is the right approach, right? You take it and you try to make up ground and you try to win every week, you try to win every series, you try to do that, but that's going to take some time. And as far as the trade deadline goes, that's not time that they have. They don't have that time. That's where everyone keeps talking about a heater. I do too. It's for the trade deadline. It's not for their chances to make the postseason. I've said that before. Like, there's still essentially half of a season to play. It looks like a handful of games over 500 might be good enough this year. That is so much in the realm of possibility for a team as talented on paper as the Royals are. They have 3 months basically to make up those games. Like, that's absolutely possible. The issue in front of everybody is, yeah, but the trade deadline is coming up in like 2.5 weeks, and you've got to make some critical organizational decisions based on things that you won't be able to do yet. You don't get 3 months to make those decisions. You get 2.5 weeks. That is the challenge that faces this front office. And no matter what they do, there'll be probably about half of us saying that was the right thing to do and half saying they shouldn't have done that. And that's just the way it's going to be.
The timing of this particular series against the Pirates, I think, is actually really important. And the fact that they were able to get the first game yesterday, again, very essential. The Pirates are the third worst team in Major League Baseball on the road, behind only the Rockies and the White Sox. And then it's the Pirates. The Pirates do not play well on the road at all. They're 12-33 on the road this season. And so with the Royals, and as you're mentioning, getting to the trade deadline and the fact that they've got 5 games left before the All-Star break and they can get back to around 500, and how that really should hopefully inform the direction the team goes at the trade deadline. I mean, we can't understate the importance of playing a team like the Pirates right now at home. And the fact that, I think the expectation should be that the Royals get the game tonight and the Royals get the game tomorrow. And at that point, you've swept the Pirates at home. And just like that, you are, 2 games under 500? 2 games under 500. If you look at the wild card race right now, they're a half game behind the Rangers and they're 1 game behind the Angels. If you can get the next 2, then all of a sudden it's the Red Sox. It's the Red Sox and you looking up at the 3 teams at the wild card. And you've really sort of shrunk down the journey to get back into the wild card race. If they can do that and you get to, let's say you get to Thursday, and I know the Mets are good, right? And they've got a lot of firepower on their roster right now. But if you can get to the Mets series this weekend, the final series before the All-Star break, if you can hover around 500, and let's just say you take 2 or 3 at home from the Mets, or even you don't, let's say you don't win the series against the Mets, but you're able to steal 1 from them, man, at that point, going into the All-Star break, my conversations, if I'm JJ Picollo with other GMs, it's, hey, I'm interested in hearing everything. Like, tell me what you want to do. Tell me if you want any of my players. Tell me if you want, if they're who you've got available that we can go and bring in to maybe try to make a push for the wild card. Like, things can change in an instant and they can shift on a dime. And depending on the way that the remainder of this week goes, that may very well change the direction that JJ Picollo wants to take it.
I think, and that's what I think he's saying. Like, they can't let that happen. And I would probably agree with that. Like, they can't let what happens this week determine their ultimate decision-making, because there still are 3 months to play. If they think they can get back into it over a 3-month stretch of time, they almost have to gamble that way versus, oh, we lost the series to the Mets, we might as well go ahead and sell. They've got 3 months. They know they have 3 months. I don't know what the chances they stand pat are. I think they're going to want to be blown away in any move other than potentially a Seth Lugo move. That's the hardest one to make, because the downside on everybody else isn't very high. The downside on keeping Cameron and Bubic and keeping the rotation together, you still get them all next year. So there's not a lot of downside there. Seth Lugo's the only one because we all anticipate he is going to decline his player option at $15 million or whatever it's at. Again, unless they have some inside information on that we don't, which is possible, but I would say unlikely because he can go make a whole bunch more money than that. That's the one where you don't, if you miss, it'll kill you. I still wonder too, if it's a strength for strength type trade, like they could trade Seth Lugo, even though he is their most consistent starter and I trust him the most. They could trade him and still be very competitive because eventually you'd think they'd get Cole Reagans back.
Yeah, I mean, if they do end up moving Seth Lugo, I mean, I think that getting an offensive piece that can help them right away. I mean, that's ultimately, in my opinion, the biggest need. So
I still want a great prospect, but also toss in a bat. Yeah.
Give me somebody that can help me right now try to get back into the wild card race. But in my opinion, I know J.J. Piccolo doesn't want to have to operate this way. I think it's going to come down to the way that the rest of this week plays out.
We'll see. He said he's not going to do that yesterday, but there'll be some pressure. We'll come back. Hour number 2 of Sports Daily. Don't go away.
Lightning, hail, tornadoes, flooding. It's the worst of severe weather, and it's coming. Spring brings warmer temperatures, but also dangerous weather conditions. Stay up to date day or night with the Storm Team 12 weather app. You'll get accurate forecasts, so you can plan ahead and stay safe, no matter the weather. Download the Storm Team 12 weather app, brought to you by Stutzman's Greenhouse.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
They're not just the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood, written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message, so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
Jim Rome here, lighting up your afternoons on The Jim Rome Show. Catch me starting at 2 on Wichita's #1 sports radio, Kansas Fan Headquarters, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of fantasy. It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Odyssey is one of the most influential audio and entertainment brands in the nation. You already know Odyssey's iconic local radio brands in Wichita. But did you know Odyssey has the country's best collection of music, news, and sports brands? Odyssey is also a premium podcast creator, major event producer, and digital innovator. Odyssey brings people together across the country and right here in Wichita. Odyssey also delivers meaningful radio and digital audio results. Find out our story and impact at odysseyinc.com/Wichita.
Make yourself known now. 83101 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albrock and Tommy Kester.
All right, welcome back in, everybody, for another hour of Sports Daily. We're glad to be with you here on KFH. If you want to call us, you can. Max Power has that ready for you at 869-1240. You can also comment on our video streams, Facebook, YouTube, X, all available for you as well. Thanks for watching us on 12 News Connected. Coming up in this hour, we'll continue the conversation that we ended the last hour with, and that's the next week for the Royals. How critical is it to the decision-making of J.J. Piccolo in the front office? We also have our Chiefs Insider, our football insider, Felix Johnson, hopping on in this hour to chat with us about some of the things Patrick Mahomes has been saying, getting ready for, training camp and all the different things happening with the NFL. Ask him a couple of questions about our maybe overrated, underrated team discussion that we've been lightly broaching here lately. It's all coming for you in this hour. It's all what's on tap, brought to you by Wichita Brewing Company, with locations east and west and historic Delano, featuring a rooftop deck. Wichita Brewing Company eats pizza and beer made here. You'll have that. We will get you some HTO to give away later this hour as well. Looking forward to all of it. Let's go back to where we ended the last part of the conversation, Tommy. The emphasis of this week, you think it's high. J.J. Piccolo took the time yesterday to say it's not. I think it is the discussion of the last month of how do you approach, not just like how do you make the decisions, right, that you'll ultimately have to make or not make, but how do you even approach deciding which direction to go? It's interesting, because you've got this window. This isn't some closing, expiring window for the Royals. The urgency comes that we saw them reach the postseason last year, and we had very high expectations for them this year. But by and large, the roster doesn't change a ton next year. You assume Cole Reagans is back healthy. It's Seth Lugo, mostly, that you'd look at as a potential loss of the high-impact guys. I'll have to check Lucas Erceg's contract. Let me do that real quick. But there is some risk in selling now, because next year you're supposed to be pretty good too, I would think right now. And Erceg is very much controllable for the next 4 years. I forgot he still has arbitration. So really, outside of Lugo, they could, in theory, run it all back next year, plus whatever they can add in the offseason. So I think that there is inherently a backdoor exit for the Royals if they decide to kind of hold still and try to reach the postseason in the second half, and then that they won't lose anything for next year. Lugo's the lone exception, and he's not even technically a free agent. We just all assume he's going to decline that player option.
Yeah, I mean, I think that getting better around the margins is going to be the priority, in my opinion. And if you can move an asset like Seth Lugo, going back to the last segment, what you get in return, if that is deepening your farm system to extend that window out and to provide reinforcements in future years, great. If you can get another piece in your lineup that can contribute in a way, the bottom half of the lineup, maybe a corner outfielder or, something like that. I think that that's a benefit, for sure, for the Royals. And I think at the end of the day, they've got enough starting pitching depth that you could, in theory, move Seth Lugo, get better offensively, and put yourself in a more competitive position to get a wild card spot. The reason why I put emphasis on this week is because, as I mentioned, they're 5 games back from the third wild card spot. They're not out of it by any means. There are 2 teams in front of them that are a half game ahead and 1 game ahead of them. If they can, continue to play like they did last night against the Pirates in this series, who are one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball on the road, then at that point, you're looking at maybe being 2 games under 500 and only being a couple games back of the third wild card spot. On the flip side, if the Royals revert back to the way that they had played baseball at Kauffman Stadium in the month of June and not win games, then the hope really probably wouldn't be there quite as much for me. But what I saw last night was the demons in Kauffman Stadium kind of shaking loose a little bit, and the fact that they were able to actually get 9 runs on the board. I mean, they won in a way that they really haven't at home in a long time last night. They need to continue to take advantage of playing a team like the Pirates tonight and tomorrow night before you face the Mets in the final series before the All-Star break. I think at that point, I know JJ Piccolo specifically said he didn't want this week to be the determining factor on the decisions that they make at the trade deadline and what direction they go. It might be inevitable.
Well, let's just project this out a little bit. The trade deadline is July 31st. So if we go through the Guardians are really struggling. So the next, let's call it 3, 6, 9, 12, 14 games. And the Royals win 8 of those games. So they go 8-6. They will be at that point at decision-making time 2 games under 500. I think that's reasonable, right? Win the games against Pittsburgh, maybe win 1 of 3 against the Mets, 2 of 3 against the Marlins, 1 and 3 against the Cubs, and 2 of 3 against the Guardians. That's basically where that would put them, which seems like that's not that crazy. At that point, though, like what kind of decision can you even make? Because probably they will have made, a game up or 2 games with that record. So now they're about 3 games if they win that out of the wild card. Is that a hold steady position with Seth Lugo specifically? Because the rest, they can hold steady. He can justify it. But is that a hold steady position? Because
doesn't that? I mean, look, I
they
think
don't have to trade Seth Lugo.
Well, right, but with Seth Lugo, that's a complete, in my opinion, that's a completely separate situation from the play on the field. That is how comfortable do the Royals feel of Lugo not declining his player option? Like, I think that becomes
not at all.
That becomes the bigger conversation. They could be 10 games under 500. They could be 10 games over 500. And the question about Seth Lugo is separate from the play on the field and where they stand in the wild card race. It becomes, can you get value for him in return, or do you let him walk? Or do you take the risk of letting him walk? And if the Royals are not confident at all that he's going to sign his player option, if they think he's going to decline it, and I think kind of the general sentiment is that he probably will, then you should probably try to get a return for him while you can. Regardless of where the Royals are in the wild card race, regardless of where they are in the games this week or leading up to the trade deadline, I think you've got to try to get a return for him. Now, on the flip side, if he has indicated to the front office that, hey, I really like it in Kansas City, I've had success here, I'd like to continue, I'd like to work out a new deal, I'd like to try to find a way to make it work, then at that point, okay, like maybe you don't move him. Maybe maybe he does want to trigger that player option because he likes playing in Kansas City. That's probably unlikely, but I think that the decision with him is completely separate from the play on the field and the way that things go in the next 14 or 15 games.
The reason I bring it up is because they absolutely need him if they think they can reach the postseason this year, right? If they were traditional buyers at the deadline, we would never be talking about trading Seth Lugo. This purgatory is what makes it really difficult. If they feel like they can make a playoff push, who's to say they don't go add a bat and keep Seth Lugo? You know what I mean? And they become buyers at that, like light buyers at the deadline. That's where I think Piccolo is sort of leaning. Like, we may get back into this thing, and if they get back into it, they're going to want Seth Lugo to be a part of that. Yes, you have to watch him walk away potentially for nothing at the end of the year, but you're trying to make the playoffs. So right? It would be equivalent if they went and traded for, like, if they were in a position and needed a starter and they went and traded for Seth Lugo because they thought they could reach the postseason, it'd be like, oh, that's a smart move. They just got a really good pitcher. You know what I mean?
So do you think that by trading Seth Lugo away, even if they get a bat that is big league ready right now in the lineup and a prospect, that's waving the white flag on this season? Because I don't think it is.
Not at all. No, not at all. But I also am not willing. But I'm also not willing to say that's the best decision they could make to make the playoffs. Trading away Seth Lugo. Seth Lugo is one of the top 3 or 4
You literally just said that they absolutely need Seth Lugo to make the playoffs. You said that just a couple minutes ago, that they absolutely need to have Seth Lugo to be able to make the playoffs.
Well, if I said that, that's I don't know what I was trying to say. They can trade Seth Lugo and still reach the postseason. They can trade Seth Lugo and think they're getting better. Probably not, but they could. But if they genuinely think they're going to make the playoffs, Seth Lugo is going to help give them the best chance to do it over anything I think that they could get in return for him this year. He's Seth Lugo. He's been outstanding again this year, just like he was last year. If you're going to reach the postseason, Seth Lugo's probably on July 8th, as JJ Piccolo addresses all this, a part of what you're envisioning to reach the postseason.
I mean,
it's
he's going to be
a two-headed play, though, because you can afford to lose a starter if you know you're getting better as far as the playoff push. But honestly, they can say that. But if they trade Seth Lugo, it's because they don't want to eat they don't want to eat the fact that he could leave at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, he's making $15 million a year right now. He's going to be 36 next season. He's probably looking at a 2-year deal, I would think, from a team. If he declines that option, maybe $20 million a year. I don't think it's a massive increase for a 36.
No, and the other possibility, just like they did, like they could also extend him. That's what I mean. The conversations between Lugo and the Royals is the most interesting part, because we had no idea. If they've had conversations like, we'd love to extend you another year or two, then that may be, we just don't have access to that information, though. We may get to this. We'll come back to this at the end of the show. Let's take a quick break. We'll get Felix Johnson and talk a little football next.
Lightning, hail, tornadoes, flooding. It's the worst of severe weather, and it's coming. Spring brings warmer temperatures, but also dangerous weather conditions. Stay up to date day or night with the Storm Team 12 weather app. You'll get accurate forecasts so you can plan ahead and stay safe, no matter the weather. Download the Storm Team 12 weather app, brought to you by Stutzman's Greenhouse.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20+ flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
Not just the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood, written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
Jim Rome here, lighting up your afternoons on The Jim Rome Show. Catch me starting at 2 on Wichita's #1 sports radio, Kansas Fan Headquarters, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of fantasy. It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Odyssey is one of the most influential audio and entertainment brands in the nation. You already know Odyssey's iconic local radio brands in Wichita. But did you know Odyssey has the country's best collection of music, news, and sports brands? Odyssey is also a premium podcast creator, major event producer, and digital innovator. Odyssey brings people together across the country and right here in Wichita. Odyssey also delivers meaningful radio and digital audio results. Find out our story and impact at odysseyinc.com/Wichita.
Make yourself known now. 83101 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
And now, digging deeper with the teams you follow, it's another Sports Daily Insider interview on KFH.
All right, welcome back in, everybody, to Sports Daily. We are joined now by our Chiefs Insider Felix Johnson, and we are glad to be getting closer and closer and closer to the NFL season. Felix on the Talk Ball podcast, Arrowhead Addict, Yard Barker, all kinds of stuff as you get ready. Felix, have you officially turned your internal clock calendar to football yet? Mine does after the July 4th holiday every year. I'm there. Are you there yet?
Well, yeah, I'm one of those guys who's keeping up with those day counters for until the regular season, preseason, and training camp. And so once we hit about like a month or so until training camp, that's when it really got real for me. And so you're right. Right after the 4th of July, it's really easy to say, all right, it's football season now because you've got camp and about at the end of the month. And then the Hall of Fame game is actually in July this year, even though it's July 31st. And so it makes it feel like football is here because it's here this month, even though it's at the end of the month and more like a month away. Football's here. And so like it is time to start turning that internal clock towards that way. If you want to start paying attention to your fantasy football teams and like who's going to be starting, who's some of your sleepers, this would be the time to start looking now, because this is when starters get decided, at least early in the season.
Well, the big story, Felix, from just the last 24 hours, the new season of Quarterback came out on Netflix. And we talked about this in our first hour, that Kirk Cousins, the first time publicly, talked about how he felt when the Falcons drafted Michael Penix Jr. He said he felt misled. And then he went on to say that he probably would have re-signed with the Vikings had he known that the Falcons were going to take Michael Penix Jr. In the top 10 in that draft. Interesting, and really I think the ramifications of this will be, what did the Falcons do with Cousins moving forward? It almost seems like they would rather pay him the amount of money they're paying him to be the backup than to move him to another team.
Right. And that is kind of interesting, assuming that, and they might be right. Like if Michael Penix Jr. is their guy moving forward, at least their guy for now, then that's fine. You got your quarterback and you drafted him in the top 10. That's what you're supposed to do. The odd part is that you signed a guy to over $100 million guaranteed a month and a half before, or whatever it was. So it is very strange. And now that Aaron Rodgers has signed with the Steelers, there's not really a candidate out there that you're looking like, because every team is like we're talking about, they're looking at training camp, trying to figure out who their starter is going to be week 1 and for the first however many weeks of the season, and hopefully the entire season, especially with the position of quarterback. So, but in all likelihood, and knock on wood, it doesn't happen to our favorite teams, but there's going to be a team that goes down with a quarterback that's going to need a veteran that early in the season. And Kirk Cousins has played well in the league. I know last year was rough and whatever the case may be. So I think that's the Falcons' best case scenario, is that maybe somebody goes down in the first month of the season. Obviously, somebody else's tragedy is our gain, or whatever you want to call it. So it is potentially interesting in what the Falcons want to do there. But when you talk about like these individual, like I think the quarterback series is very interesting, because despite all these special skills and everything, I've been watching The Boys on Amazon these last couple of days, with all these superpowers and everything, they're still human beings. And it still kind of sucks when you don't tell this human being what's about to happen, even if you gave them $100 million or whatever it may have been a month ago, and then you draft a replacement. It still sucks because that human being has to deal with it. And then the season happened that he had, so you didn't set him up for success. And so it is all these moving pieces within an NFL organization. Obviously, you're running a team, but at the same time, you're dealing with people. And Kirk Cousins, it affected him, obviously, or maybe indirectly, or whatever the case may have been. It may have been the Achilles injury, but it definitely didn't help him moving into this season. And now you have the replacement, so you might be right, but who knows?
Look, I feel bad for him too. I feel bad anytime guys things don't turn out well for them, and that goes beyond sports. It goes to everything. Anybody in their walk of life, you want to see it successful, but the Falcons have a business to run.
Mm-hmm.
And if Penix was the right call, you make the right call. You don't draft Penix because you're worried that you're going to hurt Kirk Cousins' feelings. What if the Packers had done that with Jordan Love?
You're absolutely right. And I think that if it wouldn't have affected Kirk Cousins' play, then it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. But it did. And like you're in a situation where you might be right and moving on to Michael Penix, but at the same time, you signed a guy saying that you are our era for right now, or whatever the case may be. And then 4 weeks later, whenever the draft happened, you didn't even bring the guy in for your top 30 visits. It's hard to say that this is where we're moving our franchise now, because
it probably didn't think he was going to be there.
And sure, absolutely. But at the same time, there were things that your team could have fixed at the number 8 overall pick last year, that they could have had an edge rusher, where the Falcons were a terrible as edge rushers last year, and they had to go fix that in the draft this year. And so it put them as a team back maybe a year. They could have made the playoffs this year, especially in the NFC South. So it is a lot of moving factors, and I know that you should be worried about everybody's feelings at the same time, but this is the quarterback position when feelings do matter the most. And you obviously saw how badly it happened for you, at least for Kirk Cousins individually, and you were able to pivot and move on because of the decision you made. But you still don't know, because Michael Penix might not work out, because he's got a long list of things that was injured about every year in college, and then he's an older prospect. So there's a lot of different things with Michael Penix that you have to answer that you didn't exactly have to answer with Kirk Cousins, but then you raise questions with Kirk Cousins by drafting Michael Penix. And so it is kind of this circular situation that you kind of cause yourself by throwing in another element into it.
I saw a list the other day of the top remaining unsigned free agents that are out there right now. And there are some notable names that are still on that list. A lot of them are older wide receivers. You've got guys like Amari Cooper and Keenan Allen. But then even on the defensive side of the ball, Mike Hilton is unsigned. Asante Samuel has not been signed. He's only 25. Or Rasul Douglas has not been signed. Jadeveon Clowney is a name. Is there anybody surprising to you on that list of unsigned free agents that you feel like, why don't they have a home yet?
To me, some of the wide receivers, like the Keenan Allen type, different guys who I know that there's a lot of young quarterbacks across the NFL. There's rookies everywhere. There's second-year guys that are starting for the first time or whatever the case may be, guys going to new teams. And so you'd think that a veteran receiver would be a decent fit. And I mean, Keenan Allen going back to Chicago would make sense, especially with getting Ben Johnson and just the influx there, what's going to happen with Caleb Williams. And so that's one that kind of rings my bell. But I mean, it is kind of interesting when you look at the college ranks. There's about 12 receivers that can play day one in the NFL, and then what do those guys turn into year over year? And so that's why the Bengals end up with two guys that could be legitimate number ones. The Eagles end up with two guys that could be number ones. There's the Dolphins have two guys that could be number ones. And so there's 6 receivers on 3 teams. So I'd imagine that there's about 50 receivers for 30-ish teams that can fit. And so it's harder to find spots for a Keenan Allen and older receivers like that, and unless you're like a DeAndre Hopkins who caught on with the Ravens, who are still trying to figure out that receiver position year after year.
Well, look at what happened to the Chiefs last year. Sometimes for those older guys, you can pick your spot, just kind of stand pat and wait to get added to a team. Speaking of the Chiefs, I, like you, I assume, am starting to also look at fantasy football. And I bring this in with Mahomes, who was recently saying I've had to sit here and listen to all the talk and
he's
all
just
of
too
these
fat
things.
To play quarterback, guys. I'm not sure if he can play quarterback. He's just too fat.
No, I don't mean that talk. I don't care about that talk. That guy's a Looney Tune. I'm talking about like when I look at everybody's fantasy football rankings, for instance, Mahomes is down at like number 6. And I only bring that up because Mahomes is the kind of guy who looks at that or his Madden rating or what some off the wall host in Kansas City is saying or like whatever it is, he's using it. But I look at it even more than that. The dude had like what they had last year. What nobody was going to succeed in that environment. When you lose everybody almost of your playmakers, your key guy is getting older and you have the worst left tackle situation in football. Like nobody's going to thrive in that. Well, in theory, all the weapons are back, plus some. The left tackle, again, I keep saying this, it can't be worse. I don't know how good it's going to be, but it cannot be worse. It feels like Mahomes is going to cook a little bit, just numbers-wise this year. More like what we saw a couple of years ago, 4,500 yards, flirt with 40 touchdowns, that kind of season. They're not going to run the ball this year. Why would they? They're going to throw it a ton. And if they throw it a ton and they can block, he's going to pile up the numbers again.
Right. And I think that's because they finally have the dudes, Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown. They're coming back like we were mentioning with the injuries, but they've also been in the system for X amount of years. It's Xavier Worthy's second year in the system. So now guys are ingrained, and obviously having 20 games for the first couple of years of their career gives them even more time to play within that system in high leverage situations. And so I think it is interesting where I think Patrick Mahomes' comp to basketball has been Michael Jordan even more aptly than anybody of his current era, other than Stephen Curry, because of the revolutionary. Excuse me, he revolutionized the game. But I think with Michael Jordan, because he's kind of insane in that those little things do bother him. Where it's just like, you remember watching The Last Dance in COVID, where it was just like, yeah, it's the tiniest chip on his shoulder, but he won the 1992 NBA championship because of that chip on his shoulder. And so I think that Patrick Mahomes does have those little things where, like in the quarterback series, the first season of it, when he's chipping back and forth with Max Crosby. And like, that's still a real rivalry that goes on to this day, because that's just one of those things. And Eric Bieniemy so many years ago called him a competitive you-know-what. And so like, that's just kind of what makes Patrick Mahomes. And I think that's what makes him the leader that he is, because he cares so much about winning this particular game. And a lot of the talk that people have, Emmanuel Acho, like is Patrick Mahomes in a rut or anything? I think a lot of that would be true if the Kansas City Chiefs did not make it to the last 3 Super Bowls. Like, all of that would be true if the Chiefs weren't making it to the playoffs and Patrick Mahomes was playing the way he is. Because we've seen quarterbacks win a Super Bowl, go to another one, and then just kind of fall off because the team doesn't work around them for one reason or another. We haven't seen that with Patrick Mahomes. We've seen them go to 3 Super Bowls in a row. He's won an MVP. They've been the Chiefs over the last few years. And so I think a lot of this talk would be true if they weren't so successful. And Nick Wright said this a few years ago, during the last season. If somebody's going to beat the Chiefs, you're going to have to beat them. And the Eagles did. And that's where I think that it is very interesting when it comes to the conversation around the Chiefs. It's like, no, they're still playing in the last game of the year every year. And Patrick Mahomes is the reason why they're there. And until that's not true, he's going to be the best quarterback in the NFL.
I think the pass rush is something that really bears watching throughout training camp, because we know Chris Jones obviously is the man. He is a year older, but he is the man. George Karlaftis, we know at this point how he's going to produce and what that's going to look like for him. And I think most folks expect a step forward from him coming into this season. But there's a lot of question marks outside of those two guys with the defensive pass rush. I mean, you've got, they signed Jerry Tillery to a deal. Will he be able to produce? Who knows? There are 2 rookies that they drafted, Omar Norman-Lott and Ashton Gillott. Are those 2 guys going to be able to be impact players right away? So I think that outside of the main core guy and Chris Jones, and then to a lesser degree, George Karlaftis, there are a lot of question marks about that pass rush. How do you feel as we get closer to training camp on the way that the pass rush for the Chiefs is going to shape up?
Yeah, I think if you ask anybody who talks about football regularly with me, they would probably say my second favorite team is the LA Rams. And if you look at what they've done over the last couple of years, they've basically did what the Chiefs did in their secondary, but in their front 7, and even more specifically on their defensive line. They got Jared Verse, Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk. And so they've gotten a lot of these young contributors early on. Maybe the Chiefs are moving in that direction in their front 7, where they're just like, yeah, we've got to pay Chris Jones. We're going to have to end up paying Trent McDuffie and whomever else in the secondary, and maybe George Karlaftis depending. So we have to get young up front. And what you do by doing that is that you kind of create some of this youth and hunger, even within a successful team. We mentioned all of this success that the Chiefs have had over the last half decade because they're the Kansas City Chiefs. But at the same time, when you draft guys who are just now walking into the NFL, they want to live up to that, but also they just want to make a paycheck and stay in the NFL. Therefore, they're going to be a little bit more hungry. And so they're going to want to play in the playoffs for a little bit longer, or even for the very first time. And so that's where you get a Jerry Tillery, a guy who has been in the league for a while, but maybe not have had the success that the Chiefs have had, because nobody else has had it. You get rookies coming into the league like Ashton Gillott. There's Omar Norman-Lott, who are high-level picks, but also you got to fit into this roster because this is the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think that's what the Chiefs could be doing, but at the same time, when you draft a bunch of different guys, you're just kind of flipping a coin and seeing what happens. But it has worked out for Kansas City in the past that they've drafted a bunch of defensive contributors, and then they immediately work out. We'll see if they do.
Maybe that lends itself to Mahomes piling up some numbers too. I think there's a decent chance the defense isn't as good as it's been the last couple of years. It'll be good enough. Mm-hmm. I'm with you guys on pass rush. I don't know what to make of the pass rush. I think they can cover their way through a lot of it. And the other thing is, like, if we look at the division, look at every team in the division and in the AFC. I still think stopping the run is probably more important for the Chiefs defense outside of like the Bengals, perhaps. But when they play the Bills, when they play the Ravens, when they play the Chargers, when they play the Broncos, the keys to those games defensively, it's going to be stopping the run.
Right. I mean, and just from a philosophical standpoint, how do other teams want to beat the Chiefs? Keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. How do you do that? You run the ball, you win time of possession. So how do you stop that? You stop the run. And the Chiefs have struggled with that until the Super Bowl, but then it didn't matter because 8 other things were happening and they lost because of that.
It's going to be like there's nothing we're going to see either with the pass rush until they play games. Like we're not going to go into training camp and be like, oh, look at how good Jalot looks in shorts.
As important as the trenches are to football, like games are won and lost with your offense and defensive line. You can't really know how good they are until they're all together and playing with pads on against another team. And that may not, and you're not even going to get a full look in the preseason. So you're right. Well, it'll be interesting to take a look at that.
What do you have cooking for us, Felix, that we can go find if we follow you on X right now?
Oh, yeah, we've been talking a ton about NFL defensive trends over the last month over the Let's Talk Ball podcast with Cody Alexander. We're talking just a little bit about the Rams there. They have a really interesting package for their defense. They have like a cheetah package where they put like 6 DBs out there, but they can't do it because of all the defensive linemen that we were talking about. So there's plenty of different stuff like that. If you want to get real granular with football, go listen to the Let's Talk Ball podcast. And I've got a bunch of different writings and whatnot that you can find on my Twitter at Felix R. Johnson.
Sounds good. I just popped over there right before I asked you that question. I noticed your profile picture has a Dolly Parton t-shirt in it. I appreciate that. Hey, gotta love Dolly.
Big fan.
Max tells us that you need a Larry Bird jersey to hang with your Magic Johnson jersey.
I'm good. It's just last name loyalty. I have nothing else. I mean, he's the greatest point guard of all time, but it's just I don't care about anything else.
It just says Johnson. All right, Felix. We'll continue these conversations throughout the offseason here. We'll do it again soon.
Appreciate you, gentlemen.
There goes Felix Johnson. On the way out here, let's give away some HTO. If you want to win a free cup of iced tea, either East or West Wichita or in Derby, text the short code 20357. Right now, the keyword is T. That's TEA to 20357, 20357. You can enter once per day message and data rates apply. You can try the all-new cherry, sweet cherry iced tea. Good luck in that contest. We're going to come back. We'll get to some comments. I want to talk more about Seth Lugo and his situation with the Royals in about the 9 different directions it could go. That's next on Sports Daily.
Lightning, hail, tornadoes, flooding. It's the worst of severe weather, and it's coming. Spring brings warmer temperatures, but also dangerous weather conditions. Stay up to date day or night with the Storm Team 12 weather app. You'll get accurate forecasts so you can plan ahead and stay safe, no matter the weather. Download the Storm Team 12 weather app, brought to you by Stutzman's Greenhouse.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
They're not just the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
Jim Rome here, lighting up your afternoons on The Jim Rome Show. Catch me starting at 2 on Wichita's #1 sports radio, Kansas fan headquarters, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Odyssey is one of the most influential audio and entertainment brands in the nation. You already know Odyssey's iconic local radio brands in Wichita. But did you know Odyssey has the country's best collection of music, news, and sports brands? Odyssey is also a premium podcast creator, major event producer, and digital innovator. Odyssey brings people together across the country and right here in Wichita. Odyssey also delivers meaningful radio and digital audio results. Find out our story and impact at odysseyinc.com/Wichita.
Make yourself known now. 8-3-10-1 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospitalized from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Sports Daily on KFH. Tommy Castor, Jacob Albrock, Max Power producing the program. Royals baseball continues tonight here on KFH as the homestand continues at Kauffman Stadium. We'll have all the action, all the play-by-play right here on KFH as we continue our Royals discussion, Jacob.
Yeah, so let's go to what Rick has to say. So we're talking Lugo here. Rick says that Passan is reporting Lugo would get 3 years for $75 million. That's I haven't seen that report. I'll believe Rick because he follows this closely. That's what I would guess too. I told you $25 million a year. Whenever we looked at the comps of what players, if you go back and you look at like who's making what, $25 million a year. A couple weeks ago, that was my guess at it. So good to see it. If the part that you don't really know is the 3-year part of Passan saying 3 years, I would think that makes some sense. 3 years, $75 million is what a new deal for Lugo could warrant. Right now, he essentially he signed a 3-year $45 million. So he's essentially he can make on 15 million on a 1-year deal basically next year if he takes it. I don't think that he will. I don't know why that he would. The part of this, and we've said this for a long time, that gets really complicated. One of the many things that makes the Seth Lugo situation really complicated is we don't know what kind of conversations the Royals and Lugo are having right now. It wouldn't make a lot of sense if the Royals were going to extend Lugo to do it right now. It would make sense for them to do that in the offseason. And so nothing we're going to get access to, I cannot imagine, would tell us if those conversations were happening. Would the Royals be interested in giving him a 3-year, $75 million extension? Unlikely. Would they be willing to give him a 2-year, $50 million extension on the end of his 1-year, $15 million deal? Maybe more likely, still probably a little bit less likely. Would they be willing to give him 3 years and $60 million if he were willing to? Like, all of those things, we don't know how much Seth Lugo loves it. We don't know how much he cares about that contract. Like, none of that we have access to. So we have to guess that he was going to walk away from his player option, hit free agency, and make about 3 years and $75 million somewhere. That's the best guess I think that we have at this right now.
Well, I think one thing you can also go back and take a look at, and this was reported by Mark Feinsand, who's Major League Baseball insider, a national reporter for Major League Baseball and MLB.com. This goes back to all the way right when he signed with the Royals. He turned down a 4-year deal from the Padres. The Padres tried to extend him out and sign him to 4 years. Now, it was a lower guarantee price point wise than what the Royals were offering him at the time. But there is precedent for Seth Lugo to turn down a longer term deal by betting on himself and getting more of a short term deal and making more money ultimately. If Seth Lugo had signed with the Padres, he'd still be locked into that contract, making quite a bit less money. He bet on himself. He goes to Kansas City. He signs a 3-year deal, $15 million a year. And I think that, I mean, it was obviously a deliberate thing for Lugo and the Royals, but probably Lugo, to want a player option in there after year number 2. He's betting on himself again. And so the precedent is that it's not about long-term deals for him. It's about, at this point in his career, betting on himself to get as much money as he can. I mean, he's going to be 36, right? Or 37. Like, he's getting up there in age. So try to get as much money as you possibly can.
Which he will. Like, he's going to, but, you know, again, like, how much does he love it in Kansas City? How much does he want to stay? What kinds of, because they're having those conversations, and that's fine, but then nothing's going to happen before the trade deadline. So you have to, I mean, look, there also, and we've seen this kind of thing happen. Who's to say the Royals don't have a conversation with Lugo and say, you know what? Let us trade you. We'll get something back. You walk away from that player option, we'll re-sign you. You know, like, the possibilities are literally endless on that sort of thing. We're not going to know any of it, I don't think. So then you just have to go back to what you do know. And you do know that he's one of the best pitchers in the American League for the 2nd straight year. He will absolutely help you reach the postseason if that's the decision and the direction they want to go. He could also bring you back help this year potentially in a trade that maybe helps you get to the postseason. Probably not as much as just keeping him on the roster, but maybe close to it. And then he could also just go build for the future through trading him too. So there's all these different paths for Lugo, but the reality is, and he pitches tonight, by the way, that he is one of the best pitchers in the American League for a 2nd straight year. Yeah, he's 36, but that we're just beginning his career as a starter still. Like, he's only been doing this now for like 3 years as a starter. So he's insanely valuable in a lot of different ways. I don't want to sit here with them in the mix still for the wild card and say on July 8th, of course, we're still going to have games to play, but I don't want to sit here on July 8th and say I'll be devastated if they hold on to Seth Lugo to try to make a playoff push. I don't think I will be. I think I would be okay with it. Is it ideal? We don't know what August brings, so we have to just take a swing at this. We have to take a shot. I'm not going to be disappointed if they trade him either. Don't get me wrong. I understand if they just want to sort of ride it out with him because they think they have a shot. I'm okay with that. I think the fans have earned that through the last decade of Royals baseball.
Yeah, I mean, I think that really, again, I go back to what I said earlier this hour, that in my opinion, this is going to be nearly impossible for JJ Piccolo to, I think, separate these two things, but it should be ideally the Seth Lugo conversation should be completely unrelated to what the postseason path looks like for the Royals. That's impossible to separate those two, but ideally that's the way that it should be. The conversation around Seth Lugo should be, do the Royals need to move him now to be able to get value for him in return so he doesn't just walk away and you're left with nothing? That's the conversation. It's not about, if we move Seth Lugo right now, how does that help us reach the postseason this season? Or what does that do to our August or our September? It's more about the value overall of Seth Lugo and getting a return for him now, in the event that he would ultimately decline his player option and walk away and hit the free market. Now, if JJ Piccolo and the front office, if the Royals feel like there is an opportunity to re-sign him and get an extension, the precedent is there for Seth Lugo to not want to do that and walk away and try to make money. But maybe 2 years into his time in Kansas City, he's changed his mind and decided he likes playing for the Royals, and maybe he wants to end his career as a Royal. I have no idea. But that's a separate conversation also about the short-term playoff push, the wild card race, how they perform in the next 2 months. That's got to be separate. It's really difficult to do, but that's got to be separate from what the long-term play is with Seth Lugo or the return you get for him.
Cole Reagans is not going to be back anytime soon. They did get a positive update. He's going to begin throwing, but it's going to be a minute. They're going to have a hole if they trade Seth Lugo that's going to be hard to fill. I think.
And by the way, we didn't even mention this. Daniel Lynch is on the IL. So your guy that you've used to kind of be your stopgap and fill in starter at times, he's not available right now.
If the Royals trade Seth Lugo, it will be difficult for them to reach the postseason. More difficult. It's already going to be difficult. I don't think there is any world where your replacement value, even for a power bat, which teams that are going to trade for Seth Lugo aren't going to want to trade away a power bat. They'll also be in the mix. Like, if you trade Seth Lugo, it's because you're a seller. I don't think they can pull it off because you're not going to find a team that is willing to do that. You might be able to find a team that has an expendable piece and a prospect, but is that really the needle mover that's going to make up for losing one of the top pitchers in baseball for the last couple of years? I doubt it. So if you sell him, it's probably a seller's move. And again, ultimately, if that's the way that they go, fine. I think, like, in the most hopeful situation, if you're a Royals fan, they keep Lugo, they go for a playoff push, they go at a bat otherwise, and Lugo somehow re-signs with the Royals. That's your best case scenario if you're the Royals. I don't think it's the most realistic, but I think it's the best case scenario. The best case scenario is the Royals are buyers at the deadline. They go find a bat. They go find a controllable bat, right, that they could utilize not only for this year, but next year. But that's probably going to cost you a player like Noah Cameron. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe there's a veteran out there on an expiring contract. We know John Sherman's willing to eat some money. And he says, you know what? Give us your contract. We're not going to give you a top guy. We'll give you a decent player in return, but we'll eat that money. We know he'll do that. They've spent a ton of money in the off seasons. Maybe that's a possibility, and you ride it out with Lugo. The risk is, if you ride it out with Lugo, that he walks away and you have gotten nothing in return for him. But we can't say that's the only risk, because if they keep Lugo, whether or not they make it to the postseason, he will have helped them try to make it to the postseason, which is what we want anyway. So I don't know what I would say. I want the Royals to do this with Lugo. I want the Royals to re-sign Lugo. I guess I would say that. I mean, I guess that's my answer.
I would love for them to re-sign him as well. I think that, you know, we don't have any insight as to if those talks have happened. or if they're in the middle of happening, or maybe
they will have had conversations with his agent for sure. I mean, if they don't, then that's a problem. But what we don't know is how interested Seth.
I mean, and what are you comfortable with? I mean, is it a 2-year deal? Is it a 3-year deal?
He will be, if they sign the deal, if he turned it down, he will have spent his age 36, 37, and 38-year-old seasons at $25 million a year. Ain't my money. That's the going rate for a pitcher who's done what he's done. In fact, it may be a little less than the going rate for a pitcher who's done what he's done, but you got to bake in some age. But he hasn't been a starter forever. I'd be comfortable with 3 years, $75 million. If that 3 years started next year instead of the 15 they were going to pay him anyway, I'd be comfortable with that. You're adding another $60 million for 3 years of Seth Lugo after what he's done for you the last year and a half. I'd absolutely be comfortable with that.
Here's the one thing to keep in mind, though, is that if the Royals move him, they're going to potentially move him at a time when he is pitching the best baseball of the entire season. His June was phenomenal. He's followed it up in July really, really well with one start. He goes again tonight. But if he can continue that, I mean, that value on the market, if the Royals are going to dangle him out there, probably isn't going to get any better than what it's going to be.
No,
right
it's
now.
not. It's not. Michael Wacha, they gave 3 years, $50 million, by the way. Would you give 3 years and 60 more than you already had committed to Lugo?
If you hadn't have already done Wacha,
well, I know, but Lugo's been that much better than Wacha. All right, we'll come back. We'll wrap it up next. Don't go away.